Morning, shot. Put some respect. Yeah.
One minute to a group, guys. Group time, guys. Let's go.
Change. I'm sleeping. They gave you a chance to get out of here. Good. Oh.
All righty then. Good morning, folks. We are going to do a little bit of housekeeping stuff real quickly. Please fill out your sign-in sheets. Make sure your name is on the sheet that it's supposed to be on and that people can read it. If I can't read it, it's hard for me to give you credit for it. And I have in the past and probably will in the future walk around and look for you and see if I can find you. But it would be a whole lot easier on me if you would just print your name out if you can't sign it well enough for me to read it. So today is Thursday. Yesterday was pretty interesting. Came in, saw myself on the thing up there, and man,
That was you?
well, yeah. And one of the things that I noticed, every day I've been telling folks over at North, you can't see this very well, but actually on the video it looked pretty good. You could see that pretty well. So maybe y'all can see this. We have a guy up here that's kind of, he's just being him. But there's a lot of people over here, and there's a few people over here, and what they represent is the fact that we need people in our lives. We're going to have people in our lives. It's almost impossible not to have people in your life. The deal is we need to get the proper people there. We need to get the right people in our life, because if we don't, we can have a real issue. Now, our topic today is still in spirituality, because that's what we're doing this week. But we're also going to be talking about AA and Maslow's hierarchy of needs a little bit, because we want to see where spirituality connects in with not only Maslow's hierarchy of needs, but also in with your self-help group. Now, we know that all of the self-help groups you go to talk about higher power and all of that stuff. So we're going to be going step by step today and tomorrow, looking at that to see how that works, and actually with our groups and stuff like that, with AA and NA and all of that kind of stuff. So today is Thursday. We've gone through. We had to miss yesterday a little bit on it, but yesterday was tepid. What does the word tepid mean? Say it again. You don't know what tepid means? Anybody else know what is it?
Guessing. Room temperature.
Yeah, it means just kind of warm, lukewarm, just kind of tepid. If you get your coffee, my son bought me a coffee heater for where I sit, because I sit and watch television and drink coffee. And he bought me a coffee warmer. And it works, but not all that well. And my wife told me it's because I have this big old cup that says Pastor on it, and it's real thick, and I set that on that thing, and when you pick it up, the bottom of it is warm, the bottom of the cup is warm, but the coffee in the cup is rather tepid. It's not cold, but it's not hot either. It's somewhere in between, kind of tepid. So we get to that place where we're kind of tepid. Okay, there may be somebody or something that is more powerful than I am, that is more knowledgeable than I am, that has a better handle on me than I do, but I'm not real sure about it. All of that kind of stuff, I'm not really concerned about it. When my wife and I go to church on Sunday morning, we have to cross over the what's that bridge?
The Rainbow Bridge.
The Rainbow Bridge going into Bridge City. Is that what that is? That's the Rainbow Bridge? Yeah. So, I don't know. It's I don't know what you said.
One of them is the Veteran Memorial Bridge.
Yeah, one side is Memorial Bridge and the other side is the Veteran Bridge. Yeah, and it's shut down right now, so everybody's going over the same bridge. But one of the things we see, we're headed to church, because our church is in West Orange, and we're headed to West Orange to go to church and try to get some spiritual uplifting and all of that kind of stuff. And when you come down the other side of the bridge, there's always people fishing. There's always people a little bit. Those people out there may believe that there is a God and that there is spiritual things above and beyond them, but fishing is more important to them. So they're kind of in that tepid place. They're like, okay, maybe so, but I'm not required to go, and so it's not a law. So tepid means you have some exposure to a spiritual life. Somebody has said, hey, look, there is something above you. There is something greater than you. But a little effort has been made to explore the meaning of a spiritual life, or toward adherence. I can't say the word. Adherence to any set of spiritual principles. There may be something, but you ain't paying much attention to it. Okay. Most of us have been there. And then on Thursday, which is today, we got to a place where we're confident in our spirituality or in our spiritual walk. We're confident. So if I'm confident, what does that mean?
Sure.
Yes, sir?
Self-accountable.
Self-accountable? That's a good point. Yeah, if I'm confident in myself, I'm confident in my belief. I know what I believe, and I believe what I believe.
That means you are confident and set a core spiritual belief.
So he doesn't have a real idea of his own. He's reading what the guys in here say. And y'all should be doing that, right? You should be reading what the person in here said. And I'm really glad that he did that, because that's a really good point. We go through this whole book. We have this thing the whole time we're here. We never read it. Go ahead and read it out loud so we can hear it.
You are affirming a set of core spiritual beliefs, and while you have room for improvement and deeper understanding, you are actively engaged in spiritual health.
Yeah. I don't know if any of you go to church or not, but I will tell you this. I go to church all the time, and there's not anybody there that can't be improved. There's not anybody there that doesn't need to go a little bit deeper. There's not anybody there that can, that's just the way it is. We're never going to get to perfection while we're here on this plane, but we do have that core set of spiritual beliefs. When I get confident, I know what I believe, right? And I believe what I believe. So at that point, we've got one more place to go on that thing, and we'll see that tomorrow. Not really sure about how tomorrow's going to go, but y'all know that we've got some cold weather coming.
Yep.
Right? Hopefully and that's this weekend. Hopefully the electricity will stay active and there won't be any issues there. This is a good, strong building, a good place to be in bad weather and all of that kind of stuff. But that bad weather is just kind of a ratcheting down of the cold. So we need to be prepared for that, yes?
If it's, is it so cold that leave a little water dripping or something for the pipes?
Well, that's going to be, we have people who are in charge of that. Mr. J is in charge of that, and if he wants to drip the water, he'll do that. They're saying that if you're out in the rural areas, like I live kind of out in the country, drip your water. But if you're in the city, don't drip your water, because if you do, if there's a fire or something, there's no pressure to fight the fire. However, you need to drain your pipes or something. I was at a church in a little town, and we had a deacon there who, every time it got cold, he would not let us drip the water. He wanted to drain the pipes. He would cut the water off at the street and drain all the pipes. Now, if there's no water in the pipes, they cannot burst, right? However, every time our pipes broke, because there's some low areas or something that still held the water, and it broke. Freezing water will not. Moving water will not freeze. Now here's the deal. What freezes faster, hot water or cold water?
Hot water.
Why does hot water? Why does that freeze quicker?
Because it's solidified.
Because it's what?
And it's just opposite too.
Say what's that?
And it's just opposite to hot water. Cold water, hot water.
The belief is, the theory
But the
behind it is
molecules
basically
are
between the molecules.
Yeah, there's a different distance between the molecules. So the molecules are hot water are spread out farther, so they freeze quicker. And cold water, they're more dense. You don't freeze.
And then like
A young teenager.
Yeah, something on the left. So, I want us to go over Maslow's hierarchy of needs really quickly. One of the things, this is about spirituality, but one of the things that's problematic for us, and I see people in here because when I tell you not to go out and fool with old people, places, and things, I have people actually, you may not be doing it consciously, but they're going like this, shaking their head. What that tells me is nothing that we do is going to work for you. Isn't that a terrible statement? But nothing that we do is going to work for you. If you're on a ship and you're out in the middle of the ocean and, the captain comes on and says, hey, look, in 3 days, it's 3 days. In 3 days, the ship's going to sink. We already know it. We don't have time. It's 5 days back to port. We can't get there. We're not going to be able to make it back to port. And in 3 days, this magnificent ship is going to sink. But we have some things we're going to do. We have a class here. We're going to teach you how to swim. First off, we're going to teach you how to swim. Then we've got some life preservers. We're going to teach you how to use those life preservers. Got something strange in your pocket?
No, I'm putting my card up.
So we're going to teach you all of those things. But you know, I'm sitting on the front porch there, and I don't want to go learn how to swim because you know what? I just don't believe all of that kind of stuff, and I'm not going to. I don't want to learn how to put that life jacket on and all of that kind of stuff. Because I'm just not really. I'm just not believing this big old ship's going to sink. But then in 3 days the ship sinks. What happens?
You have to have like that.
You have a minute to call the Coast Guard.
Call the Coast Guard. Yeah.
I do know.
Okay, well, as long as you don't disrupt group and all of that stuff, yeah. So what happens is you're going to fall off that ship, you're going to drown more than likely. So the same thing, like when you come to group with something like this and not your book and all of that stuff, if you come with something like that and you're not paying attention and you go back out of here and go back to the same people, places, and things, although everybody in the world said, don't do that. You can't do that. If you do that, can I see your book? Can I?
Jacob, Shiny.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Wow, that's neat.
It's nice.
It is. That's nice. I think everybody ought to have one of those. Not a group. I think everybody ought to have one. So we need to look. We need to take what we can out of the class and say, hey, one of the real big reasons we get into a place where we relapse is this Maslow's hierarchy of needs. There's just some things we need in our life, and unfortunately, one of those things that we need in our life is other people. Right. And sometimes we get so freaked out because the right person has not come along for us that we'll wind up with any person. Not necessarily now. You know, I'm looking at this person and say, okay, they've got a heartbeat, they've got a pulse, they're here and they're available, so there you go. You know, that's not the litmus test for a relationship, is it? That person I'm going to have a relationship needs to have some of the same ideals that I have, right? They need to have some of the same core beliefs that I have. I have look, whichever way you are. But I had a couple in our church, which are not in our church anymore because of this. She was very liberal in her worldview, in her politics, and in everything else. And he was very conservative. Now, when they first met, you know, their pheromones jumped off on one another because she's beautiful and he's a handsome young man. And so that's what, you know, okay, I'm attracted to her and she's attracted to him. And so they got married up and all of that kind of stuff. Now they got kids and all of that stuff and they hate one another. So, you know, we need to be a little bit careful about, hey, you know, the hierarchy of needs says I've got to have somebody in my life, but that doesn't mean just anybody will fit that bill. Right? We need to make sure that the person that we are allowing into our lives is the right person. Now, how many people do you know, Mr. Sim, that you would give your car keys to?
In here?
No. You said in him? No. In your life, do you know about anybody in your life that you're willing to give the car keys to?
My nieces.
Mm-hmm. I've got 4 or 5 people in my life that I'm willing to give my car keys. Of course, you know, my spouse, she's already got my car keys. But, you know, I have some friends. I have gone over to their house. I had an issue one time with my vehicle, and I went to my friend's house, and I said, I need a vehicle, and he gave me the keys. Okay. All right. And I would do the same with them because, you know, that's the kind of friends we are. I have three friends in my life right now that are not part of my family or anything like that can come and get my car. They can come get my car, the one that I drive up here. You know. Oh, of course they're sober.
Right.
Be a total stone cold idiot to give it. Oh, there's your car. No, I'm not going to do that. But see, we need to have those people. But here's the deal. Down through the years, I have applied that litmus test to them. Just like you said, they're not going to go somewhere and get drunk in my car.
Right.
They're not going to bring my car back empty.
Right.
They're not going to wreck my car. They're not going to do any of that kind of crazy mess. Yeah. So that's the way it is. I had one of these friends has a big old truck. It's a 2-ton something or other. And I needed to move something, so I went over and asked him. I said, "Hey, look here, brother, can I borrow you? I need this way." He said, "Here." And so, when I started the truck, it was full. By the time you get it turned over enough to start, it's at half a tank. Good God. Oh, that thing took 3 miles a gallon just to move it. It's like an airplane. An airplane, when you fly an airplane, you fill up, you got the planes I like, you fill up about 5 gallons on the thing, you got 3 hours of flying time. Because it uses a lot of gas and a lot of oil, because the pistons in that thing they're not as tight as they are in a car on purpose. They have the bigger rings on them so that they don't seize up in mid-flight. If they get hot, but they ain't going to seize up. Your car would seize up.
They just fuel in the air, bang the clouds, get fuel in the air, and stop.
Yeah, we don't do that.
I mean, military.
Yeah, my airplane don't do that.
Military.
No. When it gives out of air, it gives out of fuel. You know what you do?
Fly.
You land.
They
You land.
from F-15.
Yeah, they do, but they won't let me fly one of them. So, sir. Yeah, I do. I have a couple of motorcycles. I cannot refuel those in the air either. Although, no. Yeah.
Hey, Mr. Guard, what kind of airplane you got?
What kind of? I like the ones that I really a 150 Cessna 150. Cessna 172 is the best aircraft out there. Cessna 172. I have flown.
What kind do you own?
I don't own any.
Oh, you own?
No, I don't own
So
any.
you like to live in the airplane?
No, you can go out. Well, a little bitty, this is not what we're talking about today, but a Cessna 150 is a 2-person airplane. A Cessna 172 is a 4-person airplane. A Cessna 182 is a 4-person airplane. Cessna 310 can get up to 12.
Okay.
So, that's plenty of people. Yeah. And you can't, if you're a pilot of a 172, which is a beautiful aircraft, you can't charge anybody for a ride.
It's free.
It has to be a free ride. Although when people get in with me, they're willing to pay half of the fuel bill and half of the rent bill. So here's the deal. 1943, psychologist Abraham Maslow proposed that when basic needs are not met, we cannot tend to higher ones. If I don't meet the ones right on the bottom, I can't move to the next level in my hierarchy of needs. So we can turn our attention to psychological needs once our basic needs are met. But we need to meet those needs on that level. We cannot move to a higher level before the bottom level is. Say, in practice, needs are more complex. You may not address all of them. You may address different needs at different times or attend to multiple needs at once. But we have to know that in some place and in some way, this works this way. So the very first one is physiological needs. We all have to meet physiological needs every day. Somebody tell me what one physiological need is. Air. Somebody said air. Food. Yeah. Water. Yeah. Yeah. So physiological needs, that's just stuff I have to have every day. I have to eat. I have to have some food, some water, some air. Here they say air, food, water. One of the other things they say is shelter. Can you live without shelter? You can for a little bitty while. I know I've lived without shelter before. I didn't care for it, didn't like it at all. You know, that's why I got off the streets quickly as I could. You know, that's not a good place to be. Warmth. This weekend, we're going to have to be meeting that physiological need. Look, I've got this idea that the electricity is going to stay on here in Beaumont. If it goes off, I don't think that we have a generator here. I don't think something's going to just turn over and have a generator. However, you need to be bundled up, you know, put on some layers and then get under the covers or do something.
Just come visit too.
Say it again.
Come visit too. That big old living room.
A big old red room.
Living room.
He said come visit you in your big old
Come to your house.
Oh yeah. I do have a big living room. Yeah, y'all welcome to come.
Okay,
But yeah, just come on over
Appreciate
there.
it, Doc.
Yeah, my house is in Baytown.
Oh, we be there.
Yeah, just come on over.
We got bags.
Yeah. One of the other physiological needs that we absolutely need, and you need 7 or 8 hours of what? Sleep. Sleep. You need 7 or 8 hours of sleep every night. Why? Why do you need that kind of sleep?
So your body
So your body don't get cancer.
rejuvenate. So your body can rejuvenate.
Yeah, you need to have 7 to 8 hours of sleep because that's when your body is rejuvenating itself. That's when your body is rebuilding things. Your bones rebuild themselves entirely. Did you know that? Over a 1 year period of time, the cells of your bones, they die, and then other cells are created. So over a year's time, your skeletal features are completely redone. Your muscular stuff is redone over about 6 months. Your skin and all of those other little things, they're done in about 3 months. So your body is rebuilding itself all of the time. But it has to have sleep in order to do that. All right, bring it back, Joe. I'll bring it back. Yeah, you said earlier that, you know, your brain reconstitutes itself. You might need a little more sleep. I'm not.
I do, Doc. I do. What I'm doing, I'm calling it out for it.
Say it again.
Are you saying we're shapeshifters?
I can't hear you.
Are you saying we're shapeshifters?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I've been watching you. Yeah. So you need sleep. But one of the other things is, one of the other physiological needs that you have, that you need, Mr. Sim, is clothing. That's one of those basic needs that we have. Here's the deal. You need clothing for several different reasons. One of the reasons that you need clothing is to protect you from the environment, right?
Yeah.
You need clothing to protect. Yesterday when I got to my house, it was raining like crazy. I did not have, all I had on was what, you know, t-shirt or something like this, and it got wet before I could get into the house.
Yeah,
so I did have an umbrella, and I used it to go into the house, but I have to go through a gate, and once I got through the gate, I put the thing up on my windshield, and then the windshield wipers knocked it off. So I had to get out in the rain to get so it was not the best thing in the world. So we need to have clothes for that, and then we also need to have clothing for the health of other people.
Right.
Because I don't want to see something.
Yeah.
I don't want to see that. Yeah, I just don't.
That don't mean anyway.
So, I think that's for everybody. I don't want to see that. I don't want to see that. No. No, I don't. I don't. No, I've been married for 52 years. If I want to see a female, then I have a wife to take care of that. So, yeah, and it's highly disrespectful for us to want to see every female that we ever see unclothed. And it's also highly disrespectful for the ladies to do that with guys. So we are sometimes, we can be very, it is, right. All right, so the second thing, y'all are very talkative today. Do y'all need to take a break, go out there and get all that taken out, get that all out of your system? No, that's okay. That's all right. Okay. So safety is another basic need. All right?
Right.
So if we're looking at our own personal safety, what do we need to look at?
Our surroundings.
Say that again.
Our surroundings.
Our surroundings.
Yeah.
We need to be cognizant of what's going on around us. One of the things we need to be cognizant of is our health.
Right.
Right? So how many people know that you are the number one authority on your body? You know, when you go to the doctor, just because they got a white suit on and you know, a stethoscope, you know, you can buy a stethoscope and, you know, all of that kind of stuff. I'm still the number one authority over my health. You know, here lately, y'all know I've been having some stomach issues. I went yesterday. They're going to do another scan on my stomach to see if I have some blockages in my stomach and I need some stuff there. And the doctor that I talked to yesterday made really good sense. She said, you know, if you have blockages up here in the arteries going to your heart, what makes them think you wouldn't have them somewhere else? Does that make sense? That makes sense. So when I feel a certain way, I'm going to go to my doctor and say, I feel a certain way. And when they say, well, that don't mean anything, I'm going to say, okay, you're not my doctor anymore. I'm going to go find a doctor who, when I tell them I feel a certain way, they're going to say, okay. So we need to be able to be our own advocate.
Right.
So be willing to do that. And like you were saying, Mr. Sims, personal security.
Right.
I saw a thing this morning on Facebook as I was sitting around doing nothing. And it was showing the most dangerous service stations in Houston. It was showing how if you go to this service station to fill up with gas, you're 10 times more likely to be shot or to be accosted when you get there.
Because that's what the drug dealers in Houston they at the store.
Yeah, and I don't ever want anything like that to happen to anybody in here. But when I go to places, just like Mr. Sims says, I'm cognizant of my surroundings. You know, when I go to the service station, I'm looking, making sure. Did you know that the cheapest gas in town is at Sam's?
Right.
You know that? Mm-hmm. It's like $2.06 a gallon. It was
going
down.
I got one cheaper, but they got one for $2.04.
Okay. All right. So anyway, Sam's, you can't go to Sam's and get gas before 6 o'clock in the morning. Did you know that?
Yes.
Their pumps are shut off.
Right.
You cannot get gas
until
6 o'clock. So why do you think that is?
Security.
For security, for safety reasons. Right. They don't have you up there at 3. They used to, but they had some stuff. You know, so they don't have you there at 3 in the morning. They don't have you there at 2 in the morning getting gasoline. They just don't allow it. Right. And so that's more for your security. Now, if I'm running out of gas, I'm not happy if they're shut out. Yeah. But there's gas other places, and you cannot sue Sam's because you got some kind of mess going on because they don't allow you to do that. So we need to be able, wherever we are, we need to be able to take care of our surroundings. I saw a thing on Facebook, and I agree with you. I'm on there way too often. But this guy was getting gas, and some gentleman in a white van pulled up next to him, opened the door, and about 3 guys get out and go running around his car. Right. So he pulled the thing out, shot them with the gas, shot the gas all up in their vehicle. They all ran, took off. And have you ever had gas on you? Yeah. Man, those guys were in some serious trouble at that point in time, and it's all inside their van, and they had to get out of that van at some point. They had to get some, you know, they were burned bad. That's the bad.
Yeah.
He was just taking care of him. Right. You know, and so we need to do that. If you can avoid certain places that you know, like talking in groups, you know that's going to get you in trouble. So don't do it. You know, if you know going to that portion of town is a bad place to be, don't go there. Avoid some of that. And if you have to go wherever, even if it's not a bad part of town,
still be careful.
Still, be cognizant. Just know what's going on around you. Be aware. I was in the military for a long time. Say again, I can't hear you. When I'm talking, I can't hear you when you're talking. My ears kind of closed off, so I have to stop talking so I can hear you.
Be aware is to be alive.
Yeah, to be aware is to be alive. That's true. When I was in the military, one of the first things they taught us was to be aware. They actually had um, uh, training where they would train you to be aware. How do you do that? You're standing in a room and something hits right here on the side of your head, and then you got to find out where that came from. Things like that. And so, they'd have a room like this and somebody would walk through. And then after that person walked through, you had to write out what that person was wearing, who they were, what gender they were, what color their hair was, what color their eyes were. I have not ever been able to tell what color a person's eyes were as they passed through the room, but that was part of it, and that was a test. And we never knew when that was going on, but it taught you to become aware. So when I go to Sam's to get gas, which I'm going to do in the morning because the cold weather coming, and if you have anybody out there, you might let them know it's a good time to fill up with gas and stuff because it might not be available over the weekend. But I'm going to get there probably about 6 o'clock in the morning, just when the pumps open up. And when I get out of there, I'm looking around. I've got my hat on so people know who I am.
It's good to have.
And I'm walking around, I'm looking. My gas is pumping itself, and I don't sit in my car. I keep an eye. So we need to be cognizant of our own personal security. Right. Stable. Another thing about safety is having stable housing. Right. We need to have a stable place to live. When I leave from here today and head out of here about 5 o'clock this afternoon, I have a place where I am going.
Well, your head.
And that's where I live. I've been living there for 25 years or so. 25, 26 years. My grandson came over about 10 years ago, and he brought his little girlfriend with him, and he was showing her all around, and she's a nice young, they're married now. And so he was showing her around and all of that stuff. And she said, "I think that's so neat." I said, "What's so neat?" She said, Josh was telling me that you and Miss Linda have lived here your whole lives. I said, "That's not true, baby doll." Oh. We've been all over the place. Pastors move all over the place and all of this stuff. We've been all over the place. But we have been here all of Josh's life. Right. We've been here the whole time he's known us. We've been right here. But it's a stable housing. I've been living there for 26 years. It's going to be paid off pretty quick. What? And I'm not planning on moving, fixing to have it remodeled, but I'm not planning on moving it.
Did you ever fix the fence?
Did I ever fix my fence?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I appreciate it. You don't go back through that fence again.
Mm-hmm.
I don't need that. Yeah. So, stable housing, and look, we need to have another thing that's a real big safety issue here in the United States. Don't wake him up. He's already been written up. So, if you go sleep in group, you get written up. One of the big things we need to have, and it's a real big thing here in the United States and all over the world, really, is a financial safety net. What's going to happen if you're out there, you're working, everything's going well, and you lose your job?
You're out of there.
Yeah, what's going to happen? If you don't have enough money in the United States of America today,
you out of your house.
You might lose your house. You might lose all sorts of stuff. But if you're in the United States of America today, it's about 80% of the people in the United States of America today cannot come up with $400 unless they sell something or borrow the money.
That's right.
Yeah, that's a bad thing. That's terrible. You should have, some money in the bank. And I've told my sons that, you need to start putting a little. It doesn't make any difference what you put in the bank. If you can put $100 a month in the bank, do that. If you can't, do what you can. I pastor a very small church. We run about 20, 25 people. But every month, they put $50 a month in a retirement fund for me. Is $50 a month going to be a good retirement for me? No. Well, no. That's $600 a month.
But that's better than nothing.
Well, that has put the money in the bank where I can get $400 if I need it. Say it again?
It's the thought that counts.
Yeah, well, it is the thought that counts, and I really do appreciate that. And, hey, You know, it's built up out there at about $1,400 or something like that. And when I do retire, you know, that's $1,400.
That's a trip.
You know, it is a trip. Or it's my wife can use it to cremate me.
You ain't gonna die.
One of these days,
What day would that?
probably not today, hopefully not today. But one of these days, we're all going to have to do it. So this is the thing, the very first thing. This right here, these two, safety and physiological needs, are basic needs.
Right.
What that means is without these basic needs fulfilled, you're not going to last more than about a week. You're not going to be able to do it.
Do you have a gun, Doc?
If you can't eat, if you can't sleep, do I have a gun?
Yes.
Golly. See, there's just not no
That's a physical need, though. That's a physical need.
I do not, I'm not one of those kind of people. I do not have a gun. I have 30 guns.
30, all right.
Do you have a gun? I wouldn't know how to do it. I have guns in my bedroom, in my living room, in my kitchen, in my barn, you know.
At 72 years old, that's a physical need.
So here's the next thing. This is the one we really want to focus on today a little bit, is social. Abraham there said, look, you've got to have some social stuff in your life or you're not going to make it. This is one of those needs. So this is a psychological need. We can die as quick from psychological needs as we can from physiological needs. I'm sorry. I wanted to get that on video of me taking my sweater. It's hot off in here.
It's hot in here.
It is hot in here.
So, except for all your clothes.
But social needs, it's psychological needs. The first thing is goes outside of myself and then it comes inside of myself. First thing is I need to have other people in my life. That is a need. I've had so many people down through the years tell me, well, you know what? I don't need anybody in my life. You're sadly mistaken. That's not true. You need to have somebody in your life. So socially, we need to have some friendships. We need to have people who are not family members, not connected to us by blood, who are our friends. Why is that? Why do we have to have people who are not connected to us by blood who are our friends?
Who has somebody to talk to?
He don't raise his hand. He don't.
I have no issue.
But
one of the reasons why is so that we cannot get isolated in our thoughts and start going off kilter that way.
Okay. Yes, sir.
I'm just saying, what did you say you could die faster from what?
Say that to me
You
again.
said psychological need die quicker from this than what?
I have no idea. I just said we need stuff outside of us and inside of us.
Being alone.
The outside of us is to have some other people, and it's important for us to have friends because having friends costs us work.
Right.
We have to do something. You have to do something to first find the friend and then gain the friendship and then maintain the friendship. Friendship does not just, it's not going to just happen and it's not just going to maintain itself.
What about a dog?
Yes, you need a dog.
Thank you.
But no, dogs are not people. Some people think dogs are people. Some people think dogs are, a gift from God, and they may be, but dogs are not people. And so when people get, if you look at a family unit, and there's that one person in the family unit who is more attracted to inanimate objects and stuff like that, they usually kill themselves.
Right.
They usually die early. So that's not good. You need to have people in your life because you don't have to work. Your dog's going to love you no matter what, right? So you need to have friends in your life so that you can work toward having that relationship and be willing to work toward that relationship. I have 2 or 3 really good close friends. And it's not the easiest thing in the world. You do have to work toward that relationship because you got to know what they like. You got to know whether you like what they like, and then be involved in some of those things. You got to get involved in their life and stuff like that. The second thing is we do need to have a relationship with our family members.
It's right.
You know, there's a lot of my family members that don't want to have a relationship with me. They tell me they love me, but they've had enough of me, so they don't want to fool with me anymore.
Well,
So
I'm
that's
living
okay.
without.
So, what?
I didn't want to hang with
So anyway,
you.
you know, and the reason they don't want to be part of my life is because the misery that I put in there. You know, the misery that they put in their life, and I put in their life. So how many people know that it's a really impactful and good in the group to ask questions? It's good. How many people know it's respectful to raise your hand? Just say, because you're disrupting everything. Everything. Group, can I go for? Right. So, and the other thing, look, I do need to have some family members in my life, and I need to do the work. And I have been doing the work. And look, I've been sober for a minute, but I've been doing the work to try to get those family members back. And one of those family members was my brother. And I finally got to meet with him after probably 10 or 12 years last October. We met for 20 minutes at the Walmart parking lot. And so, you know, it was good. And we've talked back and forth telephonically a few times since then. So we're still not, you know, our relationship is not what it ought to be, but, you know, we're still, at least we're talking to one another. And that's a whole lot better than it was. So we need to do the work to rebuild the trust that we have destroyed in the family. You know, so we need to have that. The other thing is intimate relationships.
Yeah, we got to
We need to have some intimate relationships in our life. What does that mean?
It's a woman.
Please don't do that. Just raise your hand.
I had a
No, well, yes, sir.
Intimate relationships can involve, you know, being in a relationship with a person directly, but it's also close friendships,
Right.
people who you can be open and vulnerable to and share closely.
Right. Intimate relationship is more than just to a woman. Intimate relationship is having somebody in your life that you can be intimate with, but also you can trust. They can trust you. You can have a friendship with that person, and you can want to be around that person for more than just sexual gratitude. That is part of it. Intimacy states, and we do need that. Human beings are sexual beings.
Right.
So we do need to have that portion of our life fulfilled. And so, but we also need to have it to be more than just a relationship that's built upon physical stuff. It has to be more than that. So it should be a mental thing and a spiritual thing and a social thing. You know, you and I like doing the same thing. You know, if you like to bowl, and you meet somebody and they hate bowling, you might ought to think about that. Maybe that person will come to love bowling later on, maybe not. And so your relationship would suffer because you have these different things going on in your life. So we don't need to be totally, you know, there's this old thing that says opposites attract. Y'all ever heard that?
Yes, sir.
And that may be true, but it doesn't work out very well because the people who stay together for long periods of time are people who have things in common. So opposites may attract for the weekend, but they don't for the years that are to come. So you need to be trying to find somebody that has like-minded interest, you know, so we can do that. So that's the social part of that. You need to have another thing that we need to have is a thing called connection. And when I'm talking about connection, I'm talking about, look, I'm part of the local AA group. That's a connection with other people. And I'm a part of the local church. That's a connection with other people. I'm a part of this or that, you know, there's all sorts of groups and stuff out there that we can be connected with. So we need to, if we're going to stay sober, we need to have some connectivity in our life, right, with other people. We need to have them. And then the next thing on the psychological needs is esteem, self-esteem. I need to be able to feel good about who? Myself. Yeah, I need to be able to feel good about myself. You know, I'm going to tell you something. Y'all may not know this, you may not realize this, but you're not perfect. You're not perfect. There's a lot of crap in our lives, right? I'm not perfect. You're not perfect. We got some stuff off in our lives, right? We do. We do. But there's also, it's easy for us to focus on the bad. It's easy for us to focus on the places where we have failed ourselves and other people. However, we need to do some focusing on what? What I've done well. What I've done. Look, I've done some really horrendous, egregious, nasty, ugly stuff, but I've also done some pretty good stuff. There's some things in my life that are pretty good, and I need to focus on those things. And so we need to work on our self-esteem. We talked about the outside thing. That's with family and friends and connectivity. All of that is outside of us. But the inside of us is how I feel about me. Now, it's an important thing that I feel about you in a good way, but I need to feel about myself in a good way as well. I need to be confident. I try to be confident all the time. I pray about being a confident person. And when my boss comes down the hallway and says, "Is there a possibility that you could possibly do?" Yeah. I'm not stupid, okay, but I'm confident.
Right.
So if my boss comes down the hallway and says, "Is it possible that you could have a baby?" No. Because I said I'm confident. I'm not stupid. Is it possible that you could rebuild this whole building?
Yeah.
Yeah, I could. I could do. It might not be right. But I rebuilt my house, and the other day I put a board in it, and I measured it and everything, and the board was straight, and it was plumb, and it was perfect. I had to tear it out because it didn't match any of the rest of the house. But I can do it, so I'm confident. You need to sometimes look. We need to have status. Status is a big deal. Sometimes I need to be recognized for the things that I have done. I need to be recognized for all of the stuff that I have done in my life. I need to do that. I need to recognize other people. We need to recognize the counselor for all the work that they do, and Miss Courtney for all of the work that she does. I would not have her done because that's too hard. But she does a lot of work. She helps a lot. So we need to be. We need to be pushing her up for all of that stuff and giving her status and saying, "Hey, she's the one who does that." But I also need to recognize that I have status in my own. Tell y'all, friend, it's hard. And tell you guys, friend, y'all talk. Yeah.
I ain't talking though.
So, also, yes, sir. I can't.
It helps to need people.
Yeah, you do. Yeah. So we need to have respect. We need to have respect for other people. I see a lot of disrespect in here. I see a lot of disrespect in treatment. And not just in here, but I've been in treatment for many, many, many years. I've been in seen a lot. That's disrespectful. I've seen a lot of disrespect. And we need to be respecting other people. But one of the big things that we need to do, and I see that we find this hard to do too, we need to be respecting ourselves.
Right.
Some of the things we do is not respectful to us. We've had some incidents go off in here that's not respectful to anybody.
Right.
And it's just not. And so we need to be respecting other people, and then we need to also be respecting ourselves.
Right.
What Aretha say?
RSVCT.
Yeah. If you don't respect yourself, ain't nobody else going to give a hoot to hoot.
That's what it means to me.
I feel like it has a lot to do with love thing too. Like if a person doesn't respect himself or whatever
Yeah.
going on, then how can they respect somebody else?
Right, and that's the deal. If I'm not respecting myself, I'm not going to be respectful to other people. No, I'm just not going to do that. So I need to be respectful not only to other people, but I need to be respectful to myself. One of the other things that we need to have in our lives is the ability to have some type of achievement, something that I can do. If I've done something, I need to mark that achievement. If you go in to the counselor's office in there, what's one of the things you're going to see on the wall? They got so much junk on their wall. I'd like to take a scraper and scrape the. But they've got some. But they also have something else up there on the wall. What do they have?
That's all these drawings. Degrees.
They have what?
Degrees.
They have degrees on the wall. They also have their license on the wall. Those are achievements. I'm going to tell you something. It is not easy to get those licenses. You go into Miss Sierra's office, and right inside her office is her license on the wall. It's not easy to get. That's an achievement, and those little chunks of paper, they mark that achievement. And so, if you go in my office, I've got my stuff over there, and you can see it. And so we need to be marking those achievements. We need first to have achievements that we can mark. We need to know that in my life I can do something that's going to be an achievement that can be marked. I need to go do that. All right, real quickly, the last thing we're going to look at on this one is the last thing up here is fulfillment. And what does that say? Self-actualization. What does that mean? What does self-actualization mean?
So you self-actually do things or achieve things that you want to achieve.
Yeah. Reaching, just like the Army. What does the Army say?
Be all you can be.
Be all you can be. Self-actualization means reaching and meeting your full potential. Let me tell you something. And y'all may not believe this, but there's nobody sitting in here this morning who has reached their full potential.
Right.
You have the potential to be doctors, lawyers, Indian chiefs, whatever. You have the potential to be way up here. None of us have reached our full potential yet. Yes, sir.
So, in recovery, shouldn't we have fun in recovery? Or we supposed to be miserable?
No, you should be miserable. Being miserable in recovery. See, that's completely away from what we were talking about. But that's what you wanted. I know that. Yeah, I know you're asking a question, but it's not on the subject, whatever. But yeah, I think that you should have fun. I think we all need to have some fun in our lives, as long as we understand that fun has to be sober. Right. And it has to be focused, right. And it has to be all of that kind of stuff, and it's on another study.
I don't want to be miserable in here. Mm-hmm.
Are you miserable in here?
No, I have fun in here.
Well, so what was the point of the question?
I just asked.
Just to disrupt.
I put my hand up.
You did, and then disrupt. So we need to meet our full potential. Just having something to say is not your full potential. Just having something to say, look, we need to understand that just to being able to verbalize does not mean it's important enough to say. Right. Sometimes we need to not say. So here's a big deal, and sometimes this is hard for me, and I know it's hard for you because you guys are the same place I am. Yeah. Accepting other people. I've had so many people in my office. Well, he said something. Okay, I don't like the way. Okay, I don't either. I can't stand it. But you have to accept it. That's who that person is. That's who that person is. There are some people who are very stoic. What does that mean?
Bored.
What is it?
Bored.
No. Stoic means quiet, like a board. And we have some folks. Yeah. Who are. Yeah. Okay. The only people I know that can sleep with their eyes open. They're pretty stoic. Okay. Don't ask me a question. Nothing like that. I'm not moving because they might think that I'm raising my hand. Then there's other people who are way fluid. What does that mean?
Open.
All over the place.
That's me.
That's
me.
No.
That's me.
You're. I would say you're somewhere in the middle.
Oh no.
You will.
I'm up there.
Oh yeah.
I'm up and I'm stuck.
Okay. Well, I'll take your word for it, but I have seen you be respectful in this class. I've seen you be disrespectful as well, but I've seen you be respectful. I've seen you not blurt out and not do that kind of stuff. There are other people who are totally fluid. Whoa! Did you? What was your mama's name?
Mary.
But look, here's the deal. Not everybody is the same as you are.
Right.
Right? So if we're going to have friends with people, we're going to have to accept the fact that other people are other people. They're different, and that's okay for them to be. As a matter of fact, it's a good thing. It would be a bad thing if everybody was the same way, right? Right? We don't want to have that. We want to have different things. And sometimes, look, I'm going to pick on people, but yeah, I'm not being disrespectful to you.
I know.
I'm picking on you because I'm picking on you.
That's funny.
Yeah. So and yeah, y'all pick back and we have a good time. So here's one other thing we're going to look at, and then we're done for this portion. We need to appreciate life.
Right.
Look, let me ask you something. Is your life perfect?
No.
No. Life is not perfect right now. My stomach hurts.
Right.
I don't know why my stomach hurts. I'm not happy with it. All of that kind of stuff. But look, I'm gonna tell y'all something. I had a pear this morning for breakfast. I had a pear. Man, I appreciate that. I'm going to grow me a pear tree at my house. When I moved in there 26 years ago, it had a pear tree that was half rotted down, but it was still giving pears.
Right.
And so you know, I'm going to grow me a pear tree. See that? You're not. You need to know you're not the only one. It's the whole group. But anyway, I'm going to do that, and I need to appreciate life. Here's the deal: I'm going to eat today. Amen. I mean, we're going to eat today, right? We may not completely enjoy what we eat. We may hate what, but look, here's the deal: I'm going to have the opportunity to eat something other.
Right.
And there was a time in my life I did not.
Yeah.
There was a time in my life I had no idea where that next meal was coming from.
Right.
Yeah. I just didn't. I'm starving to death, and that was a really bad time.
Right.
And so, but I appreciate life every time when I wake up in the morning. This morning, I couldn't see the stars. They were all covered up by the cloud. But I go out in the morning, I look up, and I thank God for, oh, my gosh, you see the Big Dipper, Little Dipper, and a couple other things up there, and it's just an amazing thing. And I've seen the moon and full moon and all of that kind of stuff. So I'm just appreciating. If you look at, I thank God every morning for the grass and the trees and the rain and whatever He does. You just think about what He did. He put all of this together for you. He put this whole planet together for me. I'm going, damn. And there's people out there that, man, I hope we can find another planet out there. So I'm okay with the one we got, so thank God for it. So we're going to take a break. We'll be back in here about 15 minutes after.
That's 16 minutes.
About 15 minutes after.
Oh, no. Please finish. I did good.
But I ain't going to say you did good.
I'm going when we talk to him. I like it. I'm black. I'm from the hood. I like the sugar in my Kool-Aid just like any other product. But God damn it, man. Talk about overkill. Yeah, that's overkill.
You have to challenge my mind. Challenge my thoughts. Challenge my mind. Make it interesting. Yes, God. Make it something that I want to see. I can't stand the rain. Just to know that I ain't crazy. I know I ain't got no doctor. I'm trying to stop smoking. I really am. Fine line. Yeah. Yeah. Hey, you better get next out the bullets and come out, man. I need all the one good. But we'll see. So, that's all right. I'm good. You good? That's fine. There is. You got me? What today is? I thought that was breakfast. Hell no. Who said that?
Stop. My sister said you could stop. She's just mad that I give her big hug. Oh. She looked at me like, get off of me, Jessica.
But again, so I stop. Everybody go, come on again. Oh, okay. That's a problem. That's What time I take you back? Hey. This is the last job. Oh, little one. Here comes that. I like that. Fucking sheep, fucking sheep, fucking sheep. You don't want the sheep. Fucking sheep. You got to take it. 20 gallons of milk. Won't he do it? Look at more. I need some milk. I can't make this up. What Jim J said, I can't make this up.
Hey, get all that cheese over here. Yeah. There you go. Here. Oh, wow. Here, take these cheese.
Oh, wow, y'all.
That thing's like ace. Let's see how much they got.
Bro,
This motherfucker coming out like crazy. Take it up.
oh,
And you already got it marked up? Got some of them.
oh, it's cream on top.
Says that.
Yeah.
All right, it's group time again. So, that was Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And hope everybody got a little something out of that.
Group time. What does that mean, y'all? I was having to put the milk on.
Milk is nothing more
The truck came.
So we're going to talk the rest
Group
of
time.
this group time
You gonna put that paper?
about the 12 step and how spirituality is a part of the 12 steps. It's always part of the 12 steps. And we're going to take a look at each one of the steps. We may not be getting to one of them today because we've only got about And, 40 minutes left to do that. But
Wait, I'm listening, Doc.
we're going to do what we're going to do. So we're going to have some questions about it too. Anybody that's a newcomer to the 12-step program, it can be quite overwhelming sometimes. I know the first time I walked into a 12-step meeting, it was a little scary to me. It was in a place where I did not know the place. And I was there as a guest for someone else. 12-step program. 12-step program is AA, NA, Celebrate Recovery. Y'all just go ahead and do what's important to you.
I'm ready.
Yeah. Yeah, and we'll. For those of you who don't know, we will get you the material and stuff that you need because, one of the things that we do, we just assume that people who are in recovery or people who are trying to get into recovery know all there is to know about AA or NA and all of that, but this is not necessarily true. I was in recovery a bit, or I was working at trying to get into recovery when somebody said, you know what you need to do? And I said, yeah, I need to just stay stopped. And they said, yeah, but there's a way to help you do that. And they took me down there. And I learned a few things about Bill Wilson and some things like that. And then now it's an integral part of a whole bunch of people. So it can be, we can look at some dramatic concepts, like things like making amends.
Right.
Which is real hard, reaching that spiritual awakening, which is what Bill Wilson wanted everybody to do, wanted them to get to a place of spiritual awakening. I'm going to tell you something. This is a big statement, so y'all get hold of this. We usually are not going to get into recovery without a spiritual connection. If you don't have God in your recovery program, you're not going to make it. Yes.
Oh yeah, I was just gonna say I can't hear you.
You can't hear me? Well, you need to move up. Well, I can't talk any more louder. You've been on the back row forever. You can move up, find another seat up here. So if you can't hear, I do apologize for that.
Okay, I can hear you now.
I'm not talking. Look at me. Now he can hear me because no, because of all of that. Yeah, I can't. We're having a little bit of an issue there. We got 40 people back there doing something. So, sometimes we need reaching a spiritual awakening and wonder what it means in practical terms. How does that impact me? The first source for substantive content of each step should be your sponsor.
Right.
But here's the deal. This is the big deal about a sponsor. A sponsor is supposed to be leading you through a study of the 12 steps.
Yes, sir.
That's the main thing that the sponsor does. We sometimes misconstrue that. We think that the sponsor is supposed to be there at our beck and call, and that when we need him or her, that they are to come to get us out of the bar.
Right.
That's not what the sponsor's job is. The sponsor is supposed to be there to answer any questions you have, to lead you through a study in the 12 steps, help you get whatever it is that the sponsor got.
Yes.
When I was there, in AA, I got some stuff. And it was just good stuff that helped me. So when I sponsor someone or more than one someone's, then what I'm telling them is two things. What I'm interested in imparting to them is the 12 steps. We're going to know 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're going to do that. We're going to go through it. We're going to study the whole thing. We're just going to talk about it. We'll meet for an hour or two a week, and we're going to talk about the 12 steps.
Right.
If I'm not wanting to talk about the 12 steps that day, and sometimes I just don't want to, then we're going to talk about what I got out of the AA experience.
Right.
I know one time I went to AA, and one thing really just made me feel good. I went to an AA meeting at the 24 group over in Austin, Texas. I used to have to go there a lot. And there's a group called the 24 group there because they're there 24 hours a day. 24 group, 24. I'm in recovery 24 hours a day. So I went in there, and they're one of the only groups that I have been in where they charge for the coffee. We don't blurt out in group, but we don't usually charge for coffee. I'm very, very seldom, because the way that we get whatever we get is when we pass the hat. That's what AA's always done. Mm-hmm. You pass the hat, you pass the can, you pass whatever it is, and the whole program, whatever we need, is funded out of that. We can't sell stuff, we can't have bake sales, we can't do any of that kind of stuff. But somehow some of these groups set the coffee off to the side and say, that's a separate entity. No, it's not. That's part of what you're doing here. And I've never been to an AA group or an NA group that didn't have coffee. Always going to have coffee. But this group, they weren't charging much, but they wanted 25 cents for a cup of coffee. Well, I went over there and said, okay, I got my cup and everything, and I walked over there and I saw the little sign that said, coffee costs 25 cents per cup. And I said, okay. So I put the cup back down. Not because I didn't have 25 cents, but because I was incensed at the idea of you charging for a cup of coffee in an AA meeting. Because I'd already put some money in the plate that went by, And there was a lady that was sitting at the table behind where I was sitting, and she reached in her pocket, she got a quarter, and she laid it on that table and pushed that quarter over there toward the coffee. I didn't need her to pay for my coffee, but I thought, that's what AA is about. Drunks helping drunks. Right. If you ain't got the money for a cup of coffee, I will get you a cup of coffee. Which is the point. Look, here's the deal. The place I go, look, there's people in there that don't have a quarter for a cup of coffee. There are folks in there who don't have money for a cup of coffee. So if somebody doesn't have money for a cup of coffee, do you know how that makes them feel? If they're in there and they, what addict doesn't need a cup of coffee? We all need a cup of coffee. And we're putting that out of reach for them. So I did not appreciate that, and I let the leadership there know I did not appreciate that, all of that kind of stuff. The other thing that they do, though, which is kind of weird, they put money into the plate when it comes around. They buy meat, and every day they have a big old barbecue pit. And they go out there and smoke meat, barbecued meat, and everything, and feed all the homeless people. I thought, that's fantastic, isn't it? Yeah. And I'm thinking in my thinker sometimes thinks a little bit more differently than other people's thinker, but my thinker said they can afford to buy all that meat, feed all them homeless people. They can't give me a free cup of coffee. But anyway, we're going to look at a couple of the steps this morning. And there's some questions we're going to ask and look at them, and I don't know how long it's going to take us to go through these, but at some point we're going to get through them all. Focus of step one. So what is step one?
I made on powers over drugs and alcohol.
Say it again.
I made on powers over drugs and alcohol.
All right, step one is built around the realization that our addiction has defeated us. Think about that. Do you feel sometimes defeated in your addiction? Now, step one is built around the fact that I cannot not use the drug that I'm addicted to. I cannot not do the thing that I'm addicted to. Some of us it's not alcohol. Some of us it's pornography, right? Some of us it's sex, right? Some of us it's food, right? Addiction goes the whole gambit. Yes, sir?
This is saying I'm powerless and it's unmanageable.
Yeah. I'm powerless over whatever it is, and my life has become unmanageable. Look, if I could manage this, I wouldn't be an addict. There are a lot of people out there whose lives they're not powerless over alcohol. They're not powerless over drugs. They're not powerless over all this other mess. There's people out there that can go have a nice cold beer after work 2 days, and it doesn't affect them. They go home and they're fine.
I'm just kind of curious what does a sponsor?
What does a sponsor do?
Yes, sir.
We're gonna get to that. Let's do number one, and then we'll talk about a sponsor. So, but before we go there, what's a perfect sponsor?
Someone that's not your friend.
Yeah, first off, we don't want our friends or family to be our sponsor. I've had a guy come tell me, "Hey, Doc, I got a sponsor. I'm funny." I said, "Great, that's good. Who's your sponsor?" "My wife. She decided she'll be." No, it can't be your wife. Yeah, we had a guy in here one day. He said, "Hey, we're supposed to be going to AA. We're supposed to be getting a temporary sponsor." And this guy said, "Hey, I've finally got a sponsor." I said, "Okay, who's your sponsor?" Al back. No. Al had about 2 months of sobriety. Your sponsor needs to have at least 3 years.
Okay, so if your wife ain't never drank or never done no drugs and don't do none of that, and she can't be your sponsor?
No. And there's 9 reasons why she can't be your sponsor. The first reason is because she's your wife. She's kinfolk. And they're not going to hold you to that. You're not supposed to have somebody that is your friend as your sponsor. Sponsor is not supposed to be your friend. He's your sponsor. He's your sponsor. You also cannot have someone who is of another gender. You can't have a guy has to have a guy as a sponsor. A lady has to have a lady as a sponsor.
Well, I was told the other day by some of them sponsors over here that it can be unisex.
Well, can I share a little something with you?
I'm just saying.
Well, I got you, but can I share a little something with you? They wrong. They are not right. They are entirely, completely wrong. He was saying that there were some people here. Those people I need to know. They need to come talk to me. Because that kind of trash we're not putting out. That's not correct. You cannot have, look, here's the deal. Why can't I have someone of the opposite sex be my sponsor?
But you might do, Lord.
Yes, sir. See how he did that? See that?
There's 2 reasons I can think of.
Alright.
One, as a person, a man, completely different experiences and emotional setups to begin with. Second, there's the chance for you to become attracted and lose that accountability.
Okay. You can't have someone of an opposite sex because, look, there's the sexual thing. Where you form, man, woman, we form relationships. And so we're going to form that relationship. And once that relationship forms to that different place where it becomes a more intimate relationship, the sponsor part of that goes away. We can't do that. Yeah.
Well, there are some cases that man and man form relationships.
This is true.
Not mine, but that was all.
No, that's true. So what do you do if someone's gay?
Oh, God. Get it straight.
Say it again?
Get it straight.
You get a female. No.
You still have to, according to the big book of AA, you still have to have someone as your sponsor who is the same sex as you are. So not how you identify sexually, but what the biological sex that you are. So can't be a family member, can't be someone of the opposite sex, can't be a novice. You don't want somebody to be your sponsor who just got into recovery. The litmus test is at least 3 years of sobriety. At least 3 years. Look, there's a lot of people. How do you get a sponsor? When you go to AA, we have on our place, we have a board where if you'll be a sponsor, you'll write your name down. Yes, sir.
If you go to a meeting, they say if you go to a meeting, they'll tell you that. Sponsor have to be a man.
Okay. If you go to a meeting, usually, like if you go to our meeting, we have a big old-timey chalkboard, and we have, if you want to be a sponsor, you put your name up there. If you're in the meetings and you notice somebody who's speaking well, doing well, and their name's not on that board, you can still approach them and say, I'm looking for a sponsor. Would you consider being my sponsor? And then that sponsor is going to immediately assign you something in the big book. I want you to go, what I do, I want you to read step 1. I want you to read it, and then I want you to come back and tell me at our next meeting what step 1 means to you. Now, I don't want to know what so-and-so said. I don't know what Bill Wilson said. What does it mean to you? What does it mean to you? And then they'll tell me what, and you would be surprised. People have different answers for that. Some of them are spot on. Some of them got no idea what they're talking about. Some of them don't do it. Some of them will come back the next couple of days when you're going to meet again and say, well, I didn't do that. I didn't have time. I didn't think it was important. Whatever it was, they decided not to do it. You had a question? Now, you had your hand up.
I think it's him.
It would be like 5 minutes.
Say it again?
I had my hand.
What?
He said somebody's wife. I believe would it be still considered, you still have it as a peer support, like maybe somebody that
Of course, those other people. We have, we have sponsors, and then we have a peer support group or sober support group, and so your wife ought to be part of your sober support group if indeed, like you said, she's sober. My wife is part of my sober support group. We were getting on our motorcycles to go somewhere one day, and she had hers there and I had mine. Then we have these things where you put your drinks in, and I had made me a Propel. Y'all know what that is? It's a thing you put in your drink. Just it has electrolytes and stuff, and it was about to hit the road. It's hot, so I made me a Propel, and it was an orange or strawberry Propel or something. So I put it in that thing, and she saw the color of that, and what do you think ran through her mind? Why? So she went over and let me see what that. So she had to smell it, taste it, weigh it, and look. I'm not going to do anything. I'm certainly not going to be drinking wine, going out on, But she made a point, So we have to have that sober support group as well. Yes.
I was like, now could you order the step board and put it on the wall for the newcomers?
I think you ought to have it. Yeah, I think that's a good plan. That's a good idea. Yeah. I think that's good. We'll do that. So step 1 is built around the realization that our addiction has defeated us, that our attempts to function have failed, and that addiction is the cause of that outcome. No, you go ahead. Go follow her out. Go with her and tell her what you need to tell her. Go get her. Sure. Therefore, our question at this stage will focus on how we were defeated. About what our lives look like as a result. We're going to have a bunch of questions here we're going to go over, and we're just going to look at how these questions point to that. These questions kind of seem a little bit dour. That means, not too good. But keep in mind that we're not surveying the wreckage in our lives to feel self-pity. We're trying to rebuild our lives at this point. So how did you discover your addiction? How did you discover that you were addicted to something? Kept doing it. Yeah, just kept doing it. I really enjoyed it at first, but how did you feel when you had not engaged in that behavior for a minute?
Confused and not sure how to deal with
it. Yeah, that's a good point. I was a little bit confused. I didn't know how to deal with stuff because the way that I was dealing with stuff was the use of alcohol and drugs, right? I was doing anytime something came up that I was not happy about, or anytime that something came up that needed me to do something, I was using drugs or alcohol to push that back down. And I didn't have to deal with it. Everything's perfect when you're high. Everything's fine. Life is easy. I was 6'2", blonde-headed, blue-eyed. You know, man, I was looking good. Everything was fine. You know, and I was perfect. I was on top of the world. But then the world always deflated on me. So the first step is for me to understand that I don't have this. I'm powerless, and my life is unmanageable. What does it mean for me to be powerless? You don't have any control. I can't say no.
I've covered it. Can't stop.
Can't stop. I'm powerless over it. I just can't say no. When I know I know what the drug is doing to me, but I cannot say that I'm not going to do it. Because if I'm in that situation, if I'm in a situation where I can, I will. And so here, even today, if I get myself and allow myself to get into that type of situation, that is why I don't fool around with old people, places, and things. And some of those old people are kinfolk. Some of those old people. That's one of the reasons. I said I just got back with my brother here last year in October, which wasn't that long ago. I have another brother. I haven't gotten back with him yet. And there's reason. I have sisters, haven't gotten back with them yet. And there's reason. So, we're moving through, but we're moving through kind of slowly. So the other thing is unmanageable. I'm powerful. I'm not powerful. I'm powerless. I can't deal with the drug that I'm addicted to. I can't deal with the other stuff that I'm addicted to because I'm not just addicted. Look, I have an addictive personality. If you show me something, if I put my hands on it, I'm probably going to want to do it again. That's just the way I am. I'm gonna do that. I'm not going to want to, not do it anymore. So I'm going to start doing it and keep doing it and all that kind of stuff. So the other thing that it says is that our lives had become unmanageable. What does it mean that it's unmanageable?
Uncontrollable. It means I can't keep control of things like my finances or.
Yeah, I can't control it. Yeah, when we look at what it says my life has become unmanageable, right? So when my life has become unmanageable, exactly that it says I cannot manage my life, right? It's unmanageable for me. I can't manage it. I can't manage my finances, right? I've lost all of that stuff. I can't manage my relationships, right? So, I was having issues in my relationship, and y'all know I've been married 52 years, but at that issue, at that point, at that juncture in my life, I was having problems with my relationship. I was having problems with finances. I was having problems with my home life. I was having problems with my job, all sorts of stuff. If alcohol is one of the reasons that I got out of the military. Me and the military got along real well. But me, the military, and vodka did not. When it came time to get promoted to a new level of responsibility, I wasn't up to it. When I went to the promotion board, I wasn't drunk, but I was hungover, which is almost the same thing. And when they asked the questions that they asked, I had no idea. So I stood straight and I gave every answer like, man, I tried to bluff my way through that, but it didn't work. It didn't work. They said, well, we're going to set up another board at some other time. Okay. Oh, okay. So they had they're not going to put me in, they're not going to do anything like that. So it was unmanageable. I really, today I look back and I enjoy the military today more than I did when I was in it because just thinking about it, the stuff that we did and stuff like that, it's more fun than having actually been doing it. But had I not had alcohol in my life, I'd have been in the military for a long, long time. I'd have stayed there for 20, 30 years because being in uniform is a big deal for me. but I allowed alcohol to take that out of there. So, step one can help us to recover. So, how does step one help us recover?
By acknowledging the problem so you can accept that you have a problem so you can begin to work on it.
Okay, by accepting the fact that we have a problem, so that we can start to work on that problem.
But maybe we have time.
Yeah, so we have to get to the place where we look. Lots of other people told me I had a problem before I told myself that. Yeah, my wife told me, my kids told me, my commander told me, friends told me, people told me, everybody in the world told me, the bartender told me, everybody told me, police told me a couple of times, judge told me, you got a problem. And then at some point, it had to take me to get to the place where I said, okay, yeah, I'm sitting in a meeting and some guy gets up and says, okay, we're going over step one today. Like you. And what the flip is that? And so when it said, okay, and when they went over step one, I said, I'm not just like Mr. Foreman. I'm just like Mr. Foreman. He's in recovery. He knows what I'm talking about. There's that time, that point of realization. Oh my God, I am powerless and I have lost manageability of my life. See, isn't that amazing? And once I said that, once I saw that, once I believed that, then I got to a place where, hey, you know what? If I'm powerless over this, powerless over that as well. If I'm powerless over this, then what can I do? Think about that. If you have come to the place where you've accepted the fact that you're powerless over something, what do?
Reach for a source of higher strength, aka higher power.
Reach for a higher power that's going to help you to do something about it. Yeah, that's what I did. That's what I had to do. The deal is that if I came to the place of the realization that I was powerless, one of the things that helped me was to understand that, hey, you know what? This is a disease. And if it is a disease, if I'm powerless over this disease, I can still do something about it. Right? It's just like if you've got cancer. Cancer is really not curable. There's some of them they can get rid of nowadays. But cancer is not curable, but you can treat it. Right? HIV is not curable, but you can treat it. Right? But here's the deal. Addiction is not curable, but it's treatable. And so we can treat that stuff. So when it came to a place where I understood and believed that I was powerless, then it gave me that ability to start looking at some of those things. Then, understanding that the reason my life is unmanageable is because I am powerless over it. So I needed to fix it so that I was not totally powerless over it. So the big deal is that I had to go find my higher power and get some help. So this helps us in our recovery. Answering the questions that we talked about a little bit about this is going to show us how to take stock of our lives, see how our lives has become unmanageable. Look, here's the deal. One of the biggest things about us is managing our lives when we get out of here. When we get out of treatment, we've all got places we're going back to, going to discharge to. Some of us some really good places, some of us some places that are not. You can't even group. So there's some places where, we're going to have to get out and do what? Get a job, maybe. This is one of the reasons, and I tell y'all this every day probably, this is one of the reasons we're insistent on us being in group on time. Right. Now, look, today we came back from break, 3 people were in group on time. Because we're going to get out of here, and if we do the things we're supposed to do, we're going to get a job. Right? And at that job, you're going to have to show up at a specific time or not show up at all. If you're working for me, I want you to be here at this time. If you can't be here at that time, then you don't need to come. because you're expected to be, and that's why we're insistent on that, because you can get in here. It gets you a practice to start getting your life a little more manageable. If I can get it manageable in here, I can do the things I'm supposed to do in here, then I'm going to be able to better be able to do some of the things out there. So here's it. It helps us that knows how it becomes and the damage we've done to ourselves and others. It shows how previous efforts to manage our addiction have failed. Admitted this failure allows us to prepare for a better path. So, what's step 2? We're going to get that. We're going to put it up on the board there. So, who has step 2? Who knows what step 2 is?
And it is attainable to the social support.
Well, it's the last one we're going to do.
And self-improvement.
Well, that's what it says there. That's not exactly it, though.
Nathan knows. Hey, no.
He ought to know.
You gotta say it up.
He ought to know.
You gotta say it up.
All right. What is step 2?
Change to believe that a power greater than ourselves can restore sanity.
You helped him. Yeah, I came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. What does that tell you?
When you're going it all right.
Yes, sir. What does it tell you? That you do need a higher power. It also tells us, look, this thing that we're doing, we're in here, we're getting sober, we're getting ourselves clean, and then we're going to go back out and start using again. And knowing when we go back out and start using again, knowing it's going to destroy our life.
Right.
Knowing we're going to lose our jobs, lose our family, lose our whatever. We're going to just lose everything. We're not going to have all the stuff we need in our life. It's going to do all of that kind of stuff. What does that tell us?
That we are in a form of insanity.
It's insane. Using mood-altering drugs because we don't like how we feel or we don't like our reality is insane.
Right.
There is nothing good about it. So step 2 says, yes, I realize this is insane. What I've been doing is insanity itself. I'm killing myself, destroying my whole life and all of this stuff just to feel a little goofy. So yes, it's insane. And here's the deal. I'm going to need, because I cannot pull myself out of this insanity by myself. Can't do it. So I'm going to need a higher power to do that. What are you looking up?
Oh, numerous things. I'm listening to. I like reading the dictionary.
Okay, do that. That's a great thing for you to be doing. I think that's great. Anytime you can memorize stuff, it helps your mind to stay pliable. Yeah, don't do it, girl. Don't bring that book back. Yes, sir.
No. My sponsor tells me he asks me questions like, Tim, where I be during the week? I said, you be at the 8. He said, where I be on Sunday? Be at church. That's what I need to follow his steps. Trail is already cut for us. So all we got to do is follow it.
Okay. So we need to have the things we're doing so that we can do those things. Step 2, this step focuses on the restoration of health, of hope. It focuses on the restoration of hope. Though we previously acknowledged that we cannot manage our own lives, that does not mean that control cannot be. Y'all need to meet me after. I just want to have a word with you. That does not mean that control cannot be regained.
Right.
We're out of control in our lives. That does not mean that it cannot be regained. Here's the deal. Someone or something is always in control of your life, right? So here's the deal. If we're not in control of our lives, who's going to be in control of our life? God, perhaps. Yeah, we're going to let God be in control of our lives. For a long time, the drug that we've used has been in control of our lives. So we can regain that. It means that we must trust that a greater power can lead us to recovery. So that's where spirituality in the 12 steps comes in. About 8 of the steps in the 12 steps have spirituality entwined within them. We're going to look at the rest of them, maybe not the rest of them, but we're going to look at a bunch of them tomorrow. To do so, we've got to ask probing questions into our spirituality and our willingness to let go and let God or our higher power be in control. That's all.
So you tell me I was insane?
Say it again.
I was insane. I was crazy out there, you.
Yeah, it is. You went back a couple of steps, but yeah, the brain just kind of caught up to what we were discussing. Yeah, so it is. The thing, if you just take a look at yourself, you take a look at what you're doing, it does. It is insane that we're doing these things. I'm putting something in my body that's destroying my body. But it is not only destroying my body, it's destroying my relationships, it's destroying my health, it's destroying my mind, it's destroying my family, it's destroying everything that I hold dear. And, if you ask anybody, I've had so many people tell me, I just don't want my kids to do the same things that I did. Okay. Well, your kids are going to do the same things that you do because you are their role model.
Right.
You are their primary role model, so your kids are going to do usually the same thing that you do. And so if you don't want them to smoke, to use drugs, to whatever it is that you don't want them to do, they need to see you not doing it. Because when you're using drugs, that makes it okay for your kids to do it. Right? All right. So, we don't really have time to do justice to step 3, but what does step 3 tell us? What is step 3?
And committing to a recovery lifestyle, focusing on what we can control.
That's what it says in there. Step 3, and we are going to get those and put them on the board. Made a decision to turn our lives and our will over to the care of God, of our understanding. Made a decision to turn our lives over to God. Okay. So, and that's the deal. If I'm going to have a higher power, and I'm going to turn my will and my life and all of that over to that higher power, I'm going to make sure that higher power is indeed higher. Thank you. I'm going to come over to north there in a little bit, pick up sign-in sheets.